This week's episode is a little different because it was recorded in person at my favorite conference, FinCon. FinCon is a yearly event where over 1,000 financial content creators meet up to learn, collaborate, talk money with fellow money nerds without feeling weird, and grow our businesses together. And since I specialize in producing financial content professionally as a result of my personal passion for financial education, I bet you can imagine how exciting this conference is for me. If you're watching the video version of this episode, you can see that I am now back in my home studio, proudly wearing this year's conference t-shirt. But don't let that distract you from this week's guest. Hassan Thomas is a former student athlete turned financial literacy educator focused on eliminating roadblocks that college students face to managing money well and building wealth. Hassan is doing excellent work teaching Gen Z not just how to manage their cash, but how to invest. So, as you listen to this interview, think about how your life may have been changed if someone like him had the chance to speak to you when you were in your late teens and early 20s. For me personally, that would have been a game changer. Think about your alma mater or who else in your life is interacting with these young people right now. I'm willing to bet there is a connection you can make between Hassan and someone you know that has the potential to change hundreds or thousands of young people's lives with just one email. On top of that, enjoy Hassan's energy throughout this episode. It's absolutely contagious in a good way and will leave you fired up and reinvigorated about what you do. Enjoy meeting Hassan Thomas. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking to Hassan Thomas. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Of course.
And I want to hear your definition of abundance.
Yes, I would say my definition of abundance is really prosperity. Having more than enough that you can now be free and willing to give to others and make sure that others have what they need as well.
Yeah.
While your needs are also being satisfied. Because I believe that we need to first put our own seatbelt on before we can take care of others.
Yeah.
Now, I know that can be sometimes controversial sometimes, but I believe that's what we need to do first, because if we're not at 100%, how can we even share 50 if we're not even at 100 or if we're not even at 50?
Yeah. Yeah. So, taking your definition there, that prosperity piece and taking care of yourself first and all of that, do you feel like that definition is influenced by your background, like family members needing
That's care a great question.
Or anything like let's go on that for a second.
That is such a great question.
Everybody's definition is different.
Yes.
So, when I hear something like that, I'm like, why?
Let's dive deeper
Where did
into
this
it.
come from?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'll give you the exact answer. Growing up in the Thomas family household, man, woman, dog, cat, whatever, if you don't get your food first, there will be no food left for you. I promise you. So, I mean, just that small example has taught me my mom has raised me to be caring, be empathetic, and all those different things. So I'm going to go get the money, I'm going to go get the food, whatever it may be. I'm going to get it first.
Yes.
And then I'm going to disperse it to who I see fit. But I'm not going to leave it up to you and hope that you're a good person to give it to me, because I've been in plenty of situations where I've been left out. But keeping the fact the way that I was raised, my faith within God, I'm going to go take it. And then I'm going to do right with what God has gifted me to now have and be a good steward over it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to leave it up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Okay, that's a beautiful way to put it. I don't think we're very different in the fact that I didn't grow up with much. And I definitely saw that. It was like you need to step up, take care of yourself.
Yeah, because people are not going to give it to you.
Yeah. Things aren't free in life,
Yes,
right?
not at all. It's always a trade-off. It's always, and I mean, it sucks to say, but life is transactional. If we didn't pay to be here, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, gotta have a ticket.
Yeah. So like life is literally transactional, and especially in business. And when I'm in business now, I make every situation a win-win. It has to be a win for everyone involved, because in my head, if we can create that type of scenario, how can we lose? If you're winning, I'm winning, the company's winning, how can we lose?
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like a good. Okay, so you mentioned company.
Yeah.
You mentioned win-win.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into your business growth a little bit, your business, the creation.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. I know you're a student athlete, and I know your target audience now is the younger crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So walk me through how this evolved.
Yes.
How did you start your business?
So I'll give you the condensed story, so we can really get into some of the gems and the value.
Yeah.
But 2019, I was a college football player at Maryville College in Tennessee. It's not Maryville, it's Merville, as they like to say
Correct.
in Tennessee.
Yes.
So I was playing football there, and it was my senior season. I switched to playing running back, so I was on the offensive side.
Okay.
I first started by playing defense, where I was hitting people.
Okay.
And then I started to get hit by playing offense.
Yes.
So it was the 5th week of the season. My coach was like, Hassan, you've been doing your thing this first few weeks. The people in front of you haven't been producing as we thought they would. If you do your thing this 5th week of the season, during practice, you'll be starting against our rival, Huntington College, a school in Alabama. And he told me that on Sunday. Monday comes around, first practice, he says, Hassan. He calls up for the starters. He says, starters, you're in. And I was a bit hesitant to go out there because I wasn't a starter. So I was waiting, and he said, Thomas, get in there. So I strapped the helmet up, and I'm running in there, and I get in my running back stance. I get the ball, and I'm running.
Okay.
And then I get wrapped up by a defender. And keep in mind, this is practice, so he doesn't take me down to the ground because he's trying to preserve me for Saturday's game.
Okay.
Now, while I'm being held up like this, 2 linemen, and the linemen are the big people. I don't know too much about football,
I got you.
But the linemen are the big people. They are fighting and wrestling, and they're both driving themselves to the ground like this.
Okay.
Now, there's something in between the ground and those 2 linemen. That something was my knee.
Okay.
So let me paint the picture for you.
I'm seeing injury happening here.
I'm being stood up like this, and then those 2 linemen, boom, hit my knee from the side while I was standing up.
Oh my gosh.
So I said some things and yelled out some things that I would never want my mom to hear.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I ended up tearing my meniscus my senior year, and my football season was done. And
yeah. And I'm sure like all dreams for potentially growing pro, or like whatever you thought your trajectory was at that point, is just
done
in that moment.
Over with.
Yeah.
And from
gosh.
there, I really had to put my energy and my passion into something different. And what that was financial literacy. So I started to write my senior thesis, my senior research paper over financial education.
Yeah.
And I'm telling everybody, hey, I'm about to write this paper.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to turn it into a book for young folks.
Okay.
And they're like, that's awesome.
Yeah, was there anybody that was like, you're crazy? Like, nobody wants to read about money.
No, actually,
they were encouraging.
Yeah, everybody was like, that's awesome. Get an A on that thesis and then turn it into a book. That's cool.
Okay.
But my cousin, he was like, Hassan, I think you should start a podcast. And I was like, whoa. So this was 2019, podcasts really took off 2020 during COVID. So this was like right before it.
Yeah, in 2019, it was still like just a podcast, probably not so much on video. It was still abnormal to have a show. Like after 2020, then like everybody got a show.
Yeah,
but...
for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So cousin told me that. And then from September 2019 to December 2019, I did nothing but research.
Okay.
I listened to other people's podcasts. I like that. I'll sprinkle some of that into mine. I don't like just rambling, so I probably won't do too much of that. I like, going through the stories and things of that nature. So 2019, December 2019 came, I had my meniscus surgery, and I told my mom, I said, when I get back to Maryville College in Tennessee for my final spring semester in 2020, I'm gonna meet with professors, administrators, and I'm gonna get a meeting with the dean of my college to present my financial literacy resources.
Okay.
So I got back in 2020 in January. It's cold, it's snowing, I'm crutching. I'm on crutches to over 15 plus different meetings, administrators, professors, and then I finally got a meeting set with the dean of my college for March 3rd of 2020.
Okay.
We had that meeting, and that's what gave me that initial confidence to go ahead and start the FYI FLI podcast, which stands for Your Information, Financial Literacy, and Investing. So a little wordplay on that word fly.
I love it.
That gave me the initial confidence, and since then we've actually accumulated over 70,000 downloads. We've been listened to in 50 plus countries. And just last year, we won Podcast of the Year at the Southern Entertainment Awards.
Yes, that is amazing. And when you look back, are you like surprised at this progress? Or did you always, you're like, I'm meant for big things. Like, I know, like something out there is for me. Or are you just still kind of like, wow.
So while I'm doing all of these things, so the podcast then led to writing 2 books. The book series is called From College to COVID. The first one was 24 Lessons Learned During the Lockdown.
Okay.
And the second one is From College to COVID to Recession, a guide to making and managing money.
Yeah.
Released that last year, and then the public speaking really took off. I had my first paid in-person speaking engagement at Benedict College, and it's a HBCU in South Carolina. And since then, things have just exploded.
Good.
So to answer your question about, just looking back and being surprised, and I really haven't taken the time to look back. I've really only been looking forward, and I'm grateful for the progression, but I just know that there's so much more ahead. And I like to call it, we're here at FinCon, so we know compounding interest, how with time and things just continue to build much, much faster.
Yeah.
I like to call it compounding efforts.
So
your efforts, and you just continuously put in the work, you put in the effort, you meet the people, you impress the people, and then you just continue climbing. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm just focused on looking forward. So my best friend told me, he was like, you gotta, look back and just, be grateful.
Yeah.
And which I am.
Write down those accomplishments and like cherish them for just a moment, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, but I need to do that, but just being honest, like it's always something new. It's always something. I'm just focused on continue growing, making those connections and impacting people, especially with the speaking, and doubling down on that this year has been incredible, seeing the impact that I've been able to make.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, just sitting here as you're sharing this with me, like your excitement and energy is like absolutely inspiring. Like you're firing me back up. Like thank you.
For sure.
So,
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I want to backtrack just a little and say, okay, you're a football dude, you're all in sports, obviously you're going to school.
Yeah.
Was personal finance like always a part of your life, or like what college student goes, I'm into personal finance, guys, like I'm gonna make this cool?
For sure.
Like where did that come from? What was your interest? How, were you looking ahead and saying like, I'm gonna be a professional athlete, I better know how to manage my money? Like what was the thought there?
Yeah, great.
How did you get into it?
Great questions, Virginia. Great questions. So I've always been money oriented and money minded and business oriented as well. So like I even tell this story when I was in Maryland at the time, and we were taking a train to Florida to go to Disney World.
That sounds like a long ride.
Disney, yeah. So it was about 18 hours, and my mom tells me this story all the time, that I had a PSP. And for those who don't remember the PSP, that was a portable PlayStation game, and it was something that you could play like this.
Like a little Nintendo Switch these days. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also had a portable DVD player.
Okay.
So you put the DVD in, and then you could watch the DVD. So I had those 2 things. And I had a couple movies, and I literally scripted out how long the movies were and how long I was going to play my games for. to
You made
equal
yourself
up
a little schedule.
to equal up to 18 hours.
Okay.
So I was always
You're always this planner, this
Yes.
scheduler, this spreadsheeter.
Yes, always had a plan, because I believe, of course, without having that plan, you're literally planning to fail. And I know some people can be those go with the flow type people. Maybe there's 10% of them, but if you're like the 90% of us, I am not that. I am a planner, and then once I have that plan, then it's time for me to make a play.
Yeah.
So you make a plan, and then you make a play.
Yes. I
So
like
to answer
that.
your question, always been super money-minded, business-oriented. But when I got to college, I looked around at my peers and realized we're not getting this education at home. We're not getting this education in college. I was a business management major with a minor in accounting and marketing.
Okay.
So what about the communication majors? What about the art majors? What about the science majors? The medical majors? They're not getting this information. And I really realized, okay, this is where I want to make my mark. When I was in college, I had the Acorns app. I'm telling my friends about the Acorns app. Hey man, you put your debit card here, and every time you spend money, you save money. And I'll tell this quick story, and then we can, move on to something else. But so my senior year, I had a Hyundai Sonata. So with the Hyundai Sonatas, they have a 100,000-mile warranty on them. And I went over, I think I was like at 110.
Okay.
Then my engine went out. So the tow truck came, got my car, took it to the shop, and unfortunately, they did not honor the 100,000-mile warranty. It was over 100,000. It was at 110, and they didn't honor it. But they did give me a rental car to utilize while they were fixing my car.
Okay.
I'm driving back to college in the rental car. Keep that in mind. I'm in the rental car driving back to college, and then boom, a rock smacks the windshield of the rental car.
Oh my God.
Cracks the windshield.
Yeah.
How many of y'all out there listening would have been stressed by that situation?
Right.
Just having to turn your car in.
It's not even your car.
Yeah.
And your windshield's not broken.
So I got to pay for that. Also got to pay for my own car.
Oh my God. And you're a college student.
And being a college student.
What college student has the money to cover this?
A college student who utilizes fintech and financial apps that can not only save you money, but have you that peace of mind.
Right.
So when those negative events happen, because it's really not a matter of if, it's more of when something unexpected will happen. So if you have that money to fall back on, that's what creates peace of mind.
Yeah.
So I'm not representing Acorns or anything. I'm just literally telling you all what has worked for me in the past. And that Acorns app allowed me to, because every time you spend money, you save money with the Acorns app.
Yeah.
And I went to the app and I had like $1,500 built up over time.
Yeah.
From just spending money, being a college student.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's just wanting to do better with money really led me down that path of, okay, there's different apps, there's different education, there's different investing pieces. So that's what really led me there.
Yeah. That's the beautiful part, I think, like these days, aging myself a little bit, but like when I was in college, there was not apps to help you save and,
automate.
That was not even a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm so happy to see it being integrated into schools and for people like you that are speaking to college students now to help out with all of that. So, okay, so talk to me a little bit. You started the podcast kind of first.
Yep.
You had the
2020.
book. You got a meeting with your dean. We're getting some level of financial education integrated at this point in the school.
Yes.
That's so exciting. So then at what point did it start to shift into an actual business for you?
Yes.
Where you're like, okay, this is, my revenue streams and, like that mature business mind. Like, when did that start to happen?
For sure. So that's a great question. So it started with the podcast, and the podcast then led to the 2 books. I will give a mistake that I made within the first book.
Oh.
So I marketed that directly towards college students.
Okay.
When I was in college, I never got on social media to buy a book. So why in the world did I think college students were going to get on social media to buy a book.
Yeah.
So that did not work. That was a mistake that I made. But what I learned from that mistake is you have to go to the decision makers that are going to purchase the book or purchase your product and then deliver it to the people that you want to impact.
Yeah.
So with the second book, I actually created it as more of a workbook resource.
Okay.
Where now youth organizations like United Way, Urban League, the Junior Achievements, they're buying multiple copies of the book and also having me come speak to talk more about financial education and the book.
That's awesome.
So that was a mistake that I wanted to let everybody know, but that's how you can kind of alleviate that mistake is going directly to the decision makers instead of your target market. But if your target market has the money, mine doesn't. The Gen Zers, the young millennials, they're strapped for cash, so I had to go to somewhere else. But if yours does, that's where you go to. But so that was 2023 when I released that second book. And 2023, so last year, literally, was the big shift in my business where the first 2 years I was doing free and volunteer speaking engagements. And then
educating and teaching crowds of students, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But then I built up over the years, I built up enough transformational value where I could tell a company or organization, I can take your students from here, from this starting point, and then after our talk, they'll understand and be able to confidently communicate about finances, about investing, about credit, and they'll be over here in a far better place from our talk. So once you can show that transformational value, that comes with, not transformation, but a transaction, as we talked about.
Yeah.
We provide the value, and then we get revenue, we get connections, we get things in exchange for the value that we've now provided. But those first 2 years, 2020 to 2022, I had to build that up.
Yeah.
But 2023, I realized I can take you from here to here.
Yeah.
And that is something that we can charge for, and we should not feel bad about doing that.
Yeah, because you're impacting people's lives. You're
changing.
literally, the larger the transformation, the larger the transaction.
Come on. Oh, that's a gem. That's a gem.
That's what I'm hearing.
That is a gem right there.
So, and you, through experience, have started to be able to define that transformation.
Literally.
So, that will help you keep going forward because the transformations are just going to get bigger and more impactful. The more you're on stage, the more books you write, the more episodes you got, like that transaction is going to get bigger too.
100%.
So I think you're on the right track.
And where I'm at now, I would say I'm literally putting my knowledge and my experiences into a transformational package that I'm now presenting to colleges, high schools, youth organizations. And I'm starting with financial wellness because that's my passion. But that's also the foundation for everything. Whether that student is going to go start their own business or work for someone else's business, the foundation
they still need to
is
know.
Finances.
Yeah.
So I start with the finances. And then the second thing that I'm super passionate about, and I'm going to say it nicely, is my Gen Zers. I'm Gen Z, so I can talk about us.
Okay. Okay.
I can talk about us. But our generation, Gen Z, and then the Gen Alpha, there's room for improvement within our communication skills. When we go to a restaurant and we go to a fast food place, unfortunately, when I see a Gen Zer, it's the communication is, there's room for improvement. I'm going to stay on the nice side.
I love that you could put it that way because, I didn't say it.
So that's something that I'm now teaching in schools is the communication skills. Podcasting like we're doing now, being able to hold that conversation, being able to actively listen, and something that I call is making people feel like the main character.
Yeah.
And this works in a podcast setting, this works in a business setting. Before I talk about business, we're building relationship first. I don't pitch the product of what I'm selling until the last 15 minutes. Business doesn't take that long. Yeah. Business does not take that long.
Yeah, it's an in and out, yes or no. Do you need what I have? Can I serve you or not? Yeah.
But that first 30 to 45 minutes, you got to build relationships. So that's the communication skills that I talk about within schools. And then it goes to the entrepreneurial mindset because I started as an entrepreneur. And then the fourth piece is career readiness, because now I work for the largest financial wellness firm for college students, which is called iGrad Financial Wellness.
Okay.
So now I have that ability to talk about that as well, because what's crazy, I got that position from interviewing the CEO on my personal podcast.
There you go.
By the end of that interview, he was like, Hassan, you're doing great on your personal brand, but we need you on our team.
Okay. Okay. So that is a very understated, hey, y'all, this was a benefit of me having a podcast and just having a great guest on and an opportunity that just came from that. Because a lot of people look at their podcast as like, well, how many clients or potential clients called this month and said, oh, hey, I found you on the podcast. I'm ready to do business. Yep. It doesn't always work that straightforward. In time, sure, you're going to get those calls. But those, what I'm going to say is like non-direct metrics of opportunities that come your way are like that.
100%.
So that's a beautiful thing. Okay, so many people listening are going to be, you know, a little bit older, shall we say. Maybe my age.
More experienced.
Or older,
more
right?
Experienced, that's what we're going to say.
More experienced. And so they might be hearing you right now and be thinking about, oh, I need to get him connected with my alma mater. I need my kids, grandkids, whoever, at, you know, the local college. I need Hassan over here.
For sure.
How do they reach you? How do they find you? How do they make that connection with someone that they know in a position that could bring you into one of those schools?
100%. So you can definitely find me on my website. It's Hassan, Hassan, Thomas.com. So you can find my website. I have my speaking engagements. I have the different things that I can speak upon.
Awesome.
So you can find me there. My email is info@FYI FLI.com. So you can find me there as well. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah. I love LinkedIn. That is my favorite.
That's how we got connected.
Yes. Yes, that is my favorite platform by far. So you can find me as my name, Hassan Thomas, on LinkedIn. That's HASSAN. Last name Thomas, THOMAS.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. And it was great to hear about all the financial literacy, financial education that you're doing for young people. Changing the world, one person at a time, right?
Trying to.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Virginia. This was awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.